Hello and welcome to Inside Modular, the podcast of commercial modular construction, brought to you by the Modular Building Institute. Welcome everyone, my name is John McMullen and I'm the Marketing Director here at MBI. Today I'm talking with Ken Lowney, President and CEO at Lowney Architecture. Ken is here to talk about his firm's work on the new multi-story Moxy Hotel in downtown Oakland. Ken, thanks for being here.
John, it is a pleasure. I love talking about modular.
Excellent.
So thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for being here. So tell me about yourself, Ken. What's your background and what drew you to architecture in the first place?
Let's see. I grew up in Palo Alto, California, which is now primarily known as sort of the center of the universe for tech and software design. But back then it was a sleepy, Stanford University suburb. My father is an engineer. He had an engineering company. And I worked for him for many years through high school and college. So I kind of got the idea of two things. One, I wanted to have my own company, and two, to be some kind of professional service provider, but had slightly more artistic inclinations. So I ended up being an architect. I was lucky enough to do a lot of travel growing up in Europe and Central and South America, and subsequently Asia. So just part of my looking at different cultures has been through their built environment. So looking at their cities, looking at their buildings and their architecture. And so that really spoke to me. So that's sort of, I was either that or, my first degree is in philosophy. And so I'd always joke I'd be a lawyer, but I don't want to be a lawyer. I married one and she doesn't want to be a lawyer. So anyway, I'm an architect now and very, very happy for it. Although I have to say, since I have about 50 employees, I don't do a lot of architecture. I do a lot of contract writing, negotiation, business development, things like that. But still, I enjoy it.
Well, good. Tell me about your experience with modular design. When did that begin? And what did modular design bring into your portfolio?
Yeah, it happened like most things in life. It was just an opportunity and I took it and I didn't realize how good it was going to be, frankly. Started off and it was a small 23 unit project in San Francisco for the great developer Patrick Kennedy of Panoramic Interest with Panko Builders and with a now defunct factory called Zeta Communities. In my firm, Lowney Architecture, we did it was the first one. So I think Gurdon had done something in the South Bay and it didn't come off very well. And that was a phasing issue, not a Gurdon issue. And so modular was just new, right? So it was the first one in San Francisco, the second one in the Greater Bay Area. And so it was sort of a bunch of firsts for us. It was design, build, delivery. It was all Revit. We used Revit. All the engineers used Revit. The contractor used Revit. The factory used Revit. So we had one model we all worked on, passed it around and developed it. So that was great. And we built this little building with, a rain screen on it. It was a slab on grade building, 0 lot line, built in 4 days. And it was very successful, except that we didn't really know how to bid it. So we lost money, the contractor lost money, the engineers lost money. I think that the developer, eventually he made money. But there were tours given for months and months afterwards. And there was so much interest in modular and the possibilities, just there's another way to build a building. It was kind of like mind blowing for people. It's like, what, are you kidding me? We don't have to do it the same stupid way every time. And so that sort of tsunami, if you will, that excitement, that momentum of people being hungry to do something better and different has continued. And I give a lot of talks in modular. I'm on a lot of panels, and there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot more talk than action because we don't have enough factories. As a percentage of what we actually do, there's not that much of what is built is modular, unfortunately, but we need to do more. So getting back to anyway, so this one little teeny project was the first one we did, and then that sort of set it off for us. We put all our chips on the table and went after modular, and we worked with Gearden on their first type 3 project, 5/2 in Sacramento, and then started working with, a lot of affordable housing developers, and, for-profit developers. And, now we've sort of spread through all, usual suspects, factories in Boise, Idaho. I've done, work with, CIMC, even some European factories. And we've done most of the work out of Factory OS in Vallejo here, just near California. And it's, been, for just as a business, it's been a great differentiator for us, because now we've built 20, complicated multi-level modular projects. And so, another experienced architect might have done one. And so it's just wonderful, great, just great for us. Even though we've had a lot of, success is a terrible teacher. And the good thing about modular is that there's a lot of teaching that goes on. So there's always something we learn on our project, but nonetheless, generally projects come out great and people are satisfied that they did modular. Every now and then there's something that happens that we wish didn't happen, but we move forward and we learn our lessons. So anyway, it started with a small project, and now we're working with all the big nonprofit affordable housing developers in the Bay Area and a lot of market rate developers.
Well, you mentioned projects that have turned out great, which is a great segue. Let's talk about the Moxy Hotel in Oakland. It's a beautiful building. I believe you guys won an award for it at MBI's recent Awards of Distinction contest. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. It was fantastic. We felt very pleased with that.
Good. I also believe that this is Moxy's first modular hotel. Is that right?
I believe so, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay. Let's claim it's true.
Let's claim it's true.
Let's claim it's true.
With that footnote.
How did your firm get involved in that project, and what were your initial thoughts?
So, just how architects get work is somewhat shrouded in mystery. Partially it's you get work from previous clients, you get work from cities or contractors or developers. I mean, it's ultimately a developer that hires you, but how do you get in the position to be hired? So in this particular instance, it was through the broker who was selling the property to a developer, brought me in, and then we sort of took it from there. We partnered with and that developer partnered with another developer, and that developer brought in another architect, which at first was doing a lot and ended up doing not very much. So we were the design architect and the modular architect for the project, and it's great in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously it's an infill project. There's no parking, so that's one of the great things about it, as far as making it economical. You don't have to build a parking structure, so it makes the rooms a lot cheaper. And the main thing from the city of Oakland standpoint was not that the building had to be built with a union contractor, but that the hotel had to be operated by union members. And so once the client agreed to that, then it was all downhill. Of course, cities love hotels because of the tax revenue. And just from a business development standpoint, now that it's built and humming along and looks great, it's great advertising for us. So we're getting more and more work from that one building. So it's been great for us.
And more interviews. Here we are.
Yeah, and more exactly.
Exactly. So tell me about the design process for this hotel. I imagine Moxy gave you some idea of what they wanted. I'm sure Oakland had some thoughts, since this is right in their downtown district. What other parameters did you have, and how did you incorporate everything?
So Moxy definitely has a specific idea of what they want. So it's definitely sort of a younger crowd. They're very small units. Every single one is a single. There's a double bed and there's no closet.
Oh wow!
So you hang your clothes on the wall. There's a wall with a bunch of pegs on it. You hang your pants or your dress or whatever on that, and then there's a nice bathroom, but it's pretty bare bones. Sort of high design, bare bones. Each room has what I would say has an oversized window compared to normal rooms. So you feel, even though the room is small, it feels quite expansive.
Right.
And so it's just for really forward-thinking younger folks. And so the decor of the room sort of reflects that, and the size of the room, as I said. So it's really about being, either in the bar below or the restaurant. There's a adjacent restaurant that's part of the project, or out of the city walking around. So it's not really about being in your room and watching TV. It's about being in that location, and it's right where a monthly arts fair happens, and there's a bunch of great restaurants and several theaters. So it's in a very good location.
Cool. And this hotel is a hybrid project, I think. It was 5 levels of modular rooms over 2 stories of site-built space. How did that affect your design? And are there any general guidelines you follow when designing hybrid buildings versus those that are completely modular?
So I would say 85% of the buildings we do have a podium, which is, it's that concrete structure that 1 or 2 levels, and you've got the manufactured boxes on top. So most of our buildings are like this. So we're pretty used to the coordination that has to happen, between the site-built portion and the factory-built portion. So the rules of thumb are, you have to just remember that every 6-sided box has 6 sides, which have depths and dimensions. So if you put that box on top of a podium, your floor level isn't the podium level. It's this new artificial extra bump. And so, it's just your stairs are a little bit longer, and you manage your elevator stuff differently. But other than that, it's pretty much the same as a regular construction for a building. We on the Moxie, it was the builder's first time doing modular, so there were a couple hiccups. One of them was locating the embeds that were to take the modules on the top. There's a 2-level podium, so the embeds to accept the modules were every one was in the wrong location.
Oh no!
Right. So just figuring that. So that would mean that the lines of the walls, which and the structural resistance wouldn't line up. The plumbing wouldn't line up. The building just wouldn't work. So,
right.
That was a little bit of a hair-raising moment for the builder. So the drawings were right, but that was just how it happened, we don't know. But we managed to make it through that, and get the building, the site. So obviously in the podium, the rooms that are in the podium are site built, and the rooms that are above the podium are manufactured in the factory.
Well, you just described something that didn't quite go according to plan. What did go according to plan? What happened that really worked on this project, do you think?
Hotels are great for modular because you really want everything in the box delivered, and you don't want people going in and out, horsing around with FF&E stuff. And so they arrived with very interesting, complicated beds that had drawers and shelves in it, and that came off great. Right, they were built, installed in the factory, and that was wonderful. So the quality is there, and just so that the separation between the rooms is it's all about privacy, right? You've got double walls, and so that works out quite well. And I would say also that we, for the first time, used a cementitious cladding. So it's a ceramic tile finish, and from some angles you can see. Actually, I'd never seen it before. One of my colleagues said, "Oh, I've seen these little kind of waves in the it's a 7-story building." But I've been surprised when I've been up close and building, looking for imperfections, because often with wood boxes, it's not. They're not perfect, right? So you have to do some shimming and whatnot. But the surface of the finished wall came out beautifully. So the contractor did a great job. The subs did a great job. It's a simple form of the building, but it has a very kind of luscious material. And if it had been kind of lumpy and waving around, it would be less, appealing. But I think that came off great. So kudos to Nashua, the builder, and kudos for Suffolk, who stacked it and got all the boxes in the right place. So that turned out great.
Well, it is definitely a beautiful building. One of the features I love is the big Moxie sign. It looks like there's a maze on like the front of the building, which is very distinctive and very cool. question for you, did you have to factor in the weight of that sign or
No, it's very light. It's
really? Okay.
it looks heavy, but it's just lightweight bent metal. It's painted.
Oh, okay. It does look very
Yeah.
good.
That what's great about the building is that roof deck that faces Telegraph Avenue. So you go up, you go in, it's a nice bar, then you can go to the next level, and there's outdoor seating, there's ping pong tables, you can order drinks and food up there. And the cost of that outdoor deck, looking at it just from the modular standpoint, was zero. So once it was determined that we had a saw box, 4 or 5 modules to make the building turn into an L, we realized we could slide that short leg up and down the length of the long leg, and there'd be no cost, right? There'd be no additional saw boxing or anything. So like, we can push it back a little bit and get this great outdoor space and not penalize the cost or efficiency of the factory or the stacking or the design in any way. So that was a great realization that we had.
Good thinking. Was there any part of the process that really challenged you?
No, not really. But so one of the challenges for the project was, I would say that ideally for a project like this, it has 170 keys, I recall. So it's 5/2. Ideally for a project like this, you would stack, 10 to 14 boxes a day. And unfortunately, in this instance, we were only able to stack 1 box a day.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that was partially a learning curve, partially circumstantial. You're in a downtown, but so that was that hurdle, slowed down the project a lot. But I would say that was kind of the biggest takeaway is, do what you do best. And so there's companies that stack modules, right? Like a Pro Set.
Right.
And so better to have someone like that do it than to try to do it yourself. And so there are some great examples of builders in the Bay Area that do it themselves, but that was the from a project level standpoint, that would be the one thing, even more than the embed issue, was the stacking 1 box a day. So when you think of modular, you think, oh, maybe you don't save a lot of money, but it's faster.
Right.
So in this instance, it was less expensive, but it was just because of the method that they used, it was slower. So anyway, next time, of course, it would be faster, but there's always a learning.
Always a learning. But in the end of the day, you got a beautiful looking building and
absolutely.
And some happy clients, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I'm curious. Your firm has been doing modular projects, big modular projects for quite a while now. How have you seen modular designs evolve in that time? Since your very first project that you mentioned at the top of the show to the Moxie, how have designs evolved, and not just the physical design, but the methodology of the design? What trends are you seeing, and what's coming next?
So there is, from a business standpoint, there's a great opportunity to crack the code on reducing the cost of construction. That plus the opportunity, or the crisis, if you will, the housing crisis in the Bay Area, California generally. It says I read an article, it takes 3 or 4 minimum wage jobs, that's $15 an hour, to be able to afford a house in California now. So it's insane, right?
Right.
And so 10 years ago, there was 1 factory in California. And now, we're talking to 5 or 10 factories that are either headquartered here, maybe they have a factory in Mexico, or they've got multiple locations, and there are people trying to print buildings. We've got people using panelization. And what I've seen is, so the first wave of people coming in thought that people that were in the modular industry already, or people that were in construction already, were somehow missing the mark, and they were, I don't know, I wouldn't say that they thought we were stupid, but they thought that certainly they were so good solving things in the internet and creating new worlds that way, that they could just raise some capital and open a factory and kind of invent a new way of building without really understanding building. So as it turned out, like companies like Katerra certainly blew it. I mean, my favorite remark from one of the former Katerra executives was they misunderstood the complexity of field conditions, which of course that's all construction is one field condition after another. And so I'd say there's more and more people coming into the space trying to solve manufactured housing from multi-level big projects in different ways, wood, 3x5, and metal, panel, volumetric, even printing, as I just said. So that sort of ecosystem of entrepreneurship trying to solve this problem is super exciting, and it's going to yield something. We don't know what it is, and so some of these companies only work for themselves. They're developers also. Some provide third-party boxes, and so the more that we use this ecosystem, the more it's proven again and again and again, the more widely adopted it'll be. But right now, I mean, so we're at a tipping point where a lot of people see the risk of modular doesn't make up for the reward that you might get. But then there's a very vocal, strong minority who's saying, you're out of your mind, cost of construction is going crazy, union labor is boxing us in. This is the only way out. So I think more and more we're going to see some of these factories will fail, and some of these factories are going to come up with this wonderful delivery method and push modular forward into other ways of building that we just haven't seen before. So I'm looking forward to that. And so there's so many factories that are just popping up. That's the great new thing, is people are taking a risk, the business risk, and really going for it.
So given that there's been so much invention and innovation, all these new ways of building in the past few years, what would you say to a designer, to an architect who's coming in and discovering modular, wanting to do modular offsite construction, any of the types of construction you've mentioned? What would you say to that person to get them going? What advice would you give?
Well, gosh, it's one of those things where work for someone that has done it before. So that's the main thing. There's enough that's different about it that it's worth going through one on, and then it's the dual permitting, and then the sort of the forward review of construction. Even though it's everything is just so much more accelerated in a different order than site construction. So I would say intern or work for an architect that's done it before.
And what's coming up? That's good advice. That's good advice. What's coming up for Lowney Architecture next? What's next for you personally, for your firm? You working on anything fun?
Yes. What am I working on now? So modular really opened the door for my firm for hotels. And so it's, we most of the modular work that we do is multifamily. And it's sort of the bulk of it, but in the past, oddly enough, it really accelerated in the pandemic, and sort of modular has given us, again, this competitive advantage. Hotel developers and the flags themselves are, of course, interested in saving money and in quality, and modular does that in spades. So not all of our hotels end up being modular, but a lot of them do, and that is something that is really exciting and gratifying. And so that whole market opened up for us because of modular, and so we're very happy about that. I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned, we have an office in Honolulu, and so we work on all the islands in the state of Hawaii, and they pretty much have the same market profile and scarcity of resources and income issues and lack of affordable housing, and they don't really have any. Modular just hasn't really even started there. And so we're starting to talk to builders who we're actually helping set up a factory right now for a builder, which is exciting. I'm working on some very large projects where the client is talking about, this is so big, there's like 2,000 units. It's big enough that it might make sense for us to actually build a factory or work with a factory to get, either on the islands or mainland to, start thinking in a different way to deliver housing. So that, and of course, working with the unions to solve that. So that is really exciting. So the more people that adopt modular, the more people that are willing to, roll up their sleeves and make it work, the better it's going to be for everyone, and we're not going to solve our housing crisis. I mean, the United States is like 2.5 million houses short, housing units short. So
more than that, I think, yeah.
So we need to, the idea of manufactured housing is here, and we have to just start to implement it to solve our problems. So.
Well, it's a very, very exciting project for you. Hawaii, beautiful location. Maybe you can talk to our board of directors about opening an office in Honolulu. I'm sure the MBI staff would not mind. I know you're busy. Before I let you go, I'd be remiss not to mention our upcoming events. MBI is hosting its next World of Modular next spring in Las Vegas. And we're sponsoring an offsite construction expo in Denver next month. Any chance you're attending either of these?
No, I'm not only am I attending, but I'm speaking certainly at the offsite one in Denver. We've got our talk proven, and I'm hoping to speak at the one in Vegas too.
Fantastic. Well, then
yeah.
I will see you at those, I hope.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. Well, Ken, I really appreciate your time today. It's been a pleasure. It's great to talk to you as always. I look forward to seeing you next time I see you, either in Denver or Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Have a great day. Get out there and enjoy that sunshine.
I will do my very, very best. My name is John McMullen, and this has been another episode of Inside Modular, the podcast of commercial modular construction. Until next time.